Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for the news review. And of course, it is always brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering you out there, if you're a man, pay attention, your prostate. Just yesterday, I was reading about someone who had gone down with prostate issues. It had culminated in the death of this individual. It's not to say that once there's any problem with your prostate, you're gone. No, as you grow, it will get enlarged and all of that. But sometimes there are complications. If there's a malignant development there, cancerous development, if you don't watch it, it could spread. So that walnut-sized organ, so small, but because you are not going for checkups, it could spread other things to the rest of your body. This gentleman is gone. Just yesterday. If you're a woman, fibroids and other fertility-related issues are becoming very common. In fact, like I keep repeating, just as with those of us who use glasses, these are medicated. For most people, they have eye issues. It just may not develop to the point where they are using glasses. Same with fibroids. Most women have some developments. It just may not develop to the point where it becomes a problem, there has to be surgery and all of that. That is why this morning I'm proffering for you Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. Because if you're a man, they're offering you prostate screening for free. If you're a woman, they're offering you fertility screening for free. Just reach out to them at any of their branches. They are here in Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronowa here behind the Angel Educational Complex, the Stakra Dianaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman, Hanswa, and Isiama Enzema. If you'd like to call them, these are the numbers. 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But just the start of the news review, and I don't know whether for the Black Stars as well, I'm going to be very sarcastic this morning. We cannot say the end to chronic pain. So Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. Ghana Black Stars, the end to chronic pain. Let me introduce my guest this morning. I'm a bit in a certain mood this morning, so I guess I'm going to rain hellfire on anyone that crosses my way. Unfortunately, the Black Stars have crossed my path. But he is the parliamentary candidate hopeful for Ebuakwa North. And he also is, are you still the government spokesperson on governance and security? You are continuing in the role, even as you are contesting for...
Well, there are people with bigger roles.
No, I'm just asking.
I know.
For clarity, because sometimes
yes,
some people
in the
leave
context
certain
of it,
things.
yeah, but there are people in bigger roles than mine is just a very minute role.
And that is what...
Of the government landscape.
they all say, spokesperson, governance and security. And you say
it's a very minor one.
Anyway, so Paul Grief Boachidankwa joins the conversation this morning. Thank you, Paul Grief.
Thank you for having me. A very good morning to you and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's the first time we're actually interacting. We met sometime, at least a few times last year. But anyway. The Black Stars, that's why I want to start this conversation, even before I come to you and your campaign and everything. The Black Stars. You heard what I said. I can't for the life of me. I can't. We did it against Egypt. I felt okay. Football. 70th minute. You are 2 goals up. 2 penalties. Black Stars 2.0. And come on, after 70th or 80th, 90th minute, you are still 2 goals up. 91st minute, Black Stars 2.1. 94th minute, Black Stars 2.2. Why are they toying with that? You know, I wasn't watching, but I was following online, the live. I could hear, and I noticed something yesterday, which took me back to the 90s and early 2000s when the Black Stars were playing. The shouting was, you could hear it far and wide, the radius of the shouting. Yesterday, when we scored, the shouting was restricted to, at least for my environment, it was one family I was hearing shouting. One family. I can tell because I know who and whose voices were. And then all of a sudden, when I started hearing, I knew that,
Well, so Benjamin, let me greet good people of this country and greet my people of Achimbe North constituency. And to state that because of the campaigning season, yesterday my constituents were watching the football right up from the various electoral areas. I observed them. They were pleased with joy until all of a sudden. And you're right, in the days of the 90s, the Odate Lamtes, the Precons, the Abenipeles, you would hear very resounding shouts.
Palgrave, if you were sleeping,
would wake you up.
While the Black Stars were playing, you would be woken up because you would realize something had happened.
But yesterday was quite a sad ending, to be honest. I had a lot of very high expectations that we would end the match with a 2-0.
And you know what really broke me? Because I checked and realized that Cape Verde had drawn with Egypt. So it was like, do you get it?
Absolutely.
Egypt had drawn 3 matches, so they were on 3 points. So we were basically cruising.
Very much. I think
we're in cruise control. It wasn't going to be the permutation of we'll now be one of the top qualifying third placed teams.
Yeah.
They have drawn.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot more conversation has to go into the uniqueness and the formation of the Black Stars, because I realized that every single person who is a part of the Black Stars, as it was then of the years, everybody is playing for an international team. And so the only time you would have them come together is when we have such CAF, and then we have World Cup and qualifying. We need to be able to grow our own young people internally.
Are you talking of local players?
Local
focusing
players,
more
yes.
on
Focus on
the local league and all of that. But the local league itself is not thriving.
In the years past, you would bring in just about 1 or 2 or 3 people who play outside, who come to change the dynamics of the game. But then you have other people. But now it's almost every single person is playing outside. And I'm sure by the time they return back to Ghana, they have their return tickets back to their countries to play for them. But we need to have a very good look at it. It's a sad day for the Black Stars, but I'm sure that they'll do better the next time that we have an opportunity.
But there's only one respect in which I am happy for the Black Stars. Do you know that respect?
Please tell me.
By this, they've engaged in some patriotism because they're engaging in cost-cutting measures. So we are not going to spend any more. If they had progressed, we'd be spending more. Since they've decided to come back, we're going to save costs. So we are back. Anyway, let's focus on your campaign. Ibuakwa North, we've said here before, it's a pretty prominent constituency within the NPP. And you are locking horns with some interesting people as well. I know usually when you ask these parliamentary candidates why, that is where I am from, I go there, I have lived there and all of that. But beyond that, why Ibuakwa North? And why do you think you want to be a member of parliament?
Benjamin, thank you very much. To begin with, this is the ballot. I'm number 2 on the ballot on Saturday, just a few days away for us to be able to vote. Benjamin, I brought you a copy of the ballot.
I'm not voting.
I know, but you can
I'm not a voter.
But you can let the people know that this is the ballot, number 2 on the ballot. Yes.
All right.
Really, Ibuakwa North is a very unique constituency, and rightly so. It's where I come from. I come from Otafo. My mother is Irajua Chumberema, who is from Otafo. My mother's mother is Amabuatimo Foriata, who is from Otafo. Amabuatimo Foriata's siblings are Aaron Oforiata, who was Speaker of Parliament in the Kwame Nkrumah regime and the Minister for Education, and also Dr. Joe Oforiata, who died recently, and we celebrated the 1 week in New Tafo just about a week and 2 ago. He was one of the medical doctors for the Ghana Sports Council years past. And my great-grandmother is Abenago, who also comes from Otafo. Nana Oforiata, who was the king of Achim Ibuakwa, came to marry 3 women in Ibuakwa North. So I'm part of the descendants of the people from Ibuakwa North. Ibuakwa North is a very unique constituency. It's a constituency of about 92,000 inhabitants, to close to about 32,000 to 35,000 electorates who exercise their democratic rights and franchise in an electioneering year. It's an agrarian constituency. People are engaged in farming, and primarily they will do cocoa farm, and then they will do the other farming opportunities that they have within the constituency, like cassava, plantain, and very, very small cash crops. Also, it's a constituency beacon with a lot more young people who drive an agenda of hope and inspire a lot more vision. For me, coming into the constituency is to be able to see to it that we enhance the innate abilities of the young people and give them great opportunities. Every single young person I've met in my constituency who has either finished free SHS and hasn't had an opportunity to continue, I've put them on the Boachidankwa Scholarship Grant, where I'm given an opportunity to.
Is it a personal scholarship?
It's a personal scholarship.
It's something you are running?
Yes, it's something that I'm
running.
Funding. And funding.
How are you funding it?
Well, family. My mom died last year, and so my family decided that as part of...
My condolences once more.
That's okay.
We've already...
Yeah. My mom died last year, so my family decided as part of my mother's benevolence, we should engage a lot more young people and give them opportunity to be able to further their studies. And so that grant is available that we're giving to young people. There are a few that I've brought to Ghana Telecom, a few that I'm sending to All Nations University. The goal is to ensure that every single young person has an opportunity to go to tertiary and then have an opportunity to engage in a brighter future. The other key goal in my constituency is infrastructural development. I believe in infrastructure. I've stated on record to state it that for the various electoral areas, from Fisher to Abu Abu to Enginesin to Etukrom to Tontro to Nobi to Obodase to Bediesi to Busudumasi to Abrimponsu to Ariaben to Osiem to Sokodejaso, Kokrentumi, New Tafu and Old Tafu, I've stated that I'm going to bring a game reserve into my constituency.
A game reserve?
A game reserve. And so when you go towards Nobi and you go towards Bediase and you go to Obodase, it's a forest. My constituency has a lot more farmlands and a lot more forests, which is why the king of Ibuakwa is called the Kwabi Bremhene, which is the Osajifo Amretia of Eripeni, whom I bring special greetings to this morning. And to state that the game reserve is going to be a one-stop measure to eradicate the level of unemployment within my constituency. Because we're going to build a canopy walk, we're going to bring the big five animals, the elephants, the lion, the tiger, the zebras, we're going to bring them into the constituency. So when people come from Kwewu after the Easter, we'll just tell them, migrate Bonsu, get to Etukrom, come all the way to New Tafu, and then climb to Nobi, and then come and enjoy the canopy walk, come and enjoy the breeze of Ibuakwa of constituency. And that game reserve is going to create jobs, it's going to bring drivers, it's going to bring tour guides. Even the people that are going to construct the game reserve are going to be people from the constituency. And so my goal is to ensure that the constituency grows and strives. And I've stated very clearly that as young as I am, as passionate as I am, as visionary oriented as I am, I believe that I'm the best candidate for the New Patriotic Party in the Ibuakwa constituency on Saturday. I'm available, I'm faithful, I'm teachable, I'm enthusiastic. My relationships cut across the length and breadth of this world, worked in about 78 countries for 23 years, and built huge networks. And I'm very certain that these networks is what I'm bringing into the constituency so we can have an opportunity to serve them better. Okay. We've also built boreholes. As I speak now in the constituency, I sent the files to your producer. We've done 2 boreholes. They are about 80% to completion. It's a mechanized borehole. It cost us $30,000 to do that. At the time when we were doing, the dollar was a cedi to 10 cedis. So that's about 300,000 to do the mechanized borehole to ensure that people have portable drinking water. And I've also promised that every single household in my constituency that does not have a toilet is going to have a toilet during my...
Let me just ask you this. I mean, these are quite a number of things you're doing. An endowment fund, a game park and all of that, and a mechanized borehole. These are interesting things, but these are things too that I see many other candidates are doing. What sets you apart? For example, so you talk about the game park, right? I find that interesting because, yes, we are blessed with natural vegetation, but we're also destroying it, thanks to Galamsey. And now, I don't know what lithium mining will bring. I just found it curious that in one breath, we are destroying our environment. In another breath, at least if you are trying to do something, that's fine. But what sets you apart? When I look on the ballot, there are 5 of you, right?
We are 5.
And you are going for the seat for the first time.
Likewise, every other person with the exception of the certain MP.
Exactly. I mean, it's still a tall order with these things. I'm sure if I went to these other four people and said, "What have you done?" they'll tell me something very similar. Maybe minus a game park idea, or maybe with a game park. Who knows?
I don't think.
Or maybe minus the scholarship. But even the scholarship. Now I see that it's a thing that is running through. Everyone is supporting. So I'm asking, what really sets you apart? What is different?
Benjamin, I think that my unique selling propositions are extremely very key. I engage the media on a regular basis, and I think that the media cannot be taken out of the entire governance structure. You're the fourth realm of the estate. In Parliament, you go to Parliament to parley. If you go to Parliament and you're not able to catch the eye of the Speaker and engage on the floor of the House and aid in policy and aid in bills and aid in legislature and go to the committee level and aid in advocacy, then what are you doing in Parliament? And so the real goal for me is that my very unique selling proposition is what I bring onto the table is my strength of communication, is my strength of network, is my strength of my capacity. Because I finished my door-to-door this morning at 3 a.m. My capacity drove all the way from the constituency to come on your set. Once I'm done driving back into the constituency to do my one-on-one campaigning. So it's my capacity, and it's capacity that I have maintained over the past 23 years. And I'm sure that people in government have seen that level of enthusiasm and that level of capacity that I've brought to my role as a government spokesperson on governance and security. There's not a single topic that I've not engaged. There's not a single policy that I've not sought to bring clarity to. There's not a single disaster that has happened, from trying to evacuate young children from Ukraine during the war at the airport. Every single morning, 5:30 a.m., we were receiving flights that were coming and we're leaving at about 2 a.m. And so it's the capacity that I bring. It's also the uniqueness of my availability. It's the uniqueness of my faithfulness. I'm extremely faithful. It's the uniqueness of my teachability in my actions and my attitudes. It's the uniqueness of my enthusiasm. I'm very, very established with my values and my depth of understanding of issues and my depth of understanding of parliamentary proceedings and the entire governance structure. And then also is my uniqueness of my relationships. Because you see, when you come into service in terms of governance structure, and you come into service of public service, you must be relational. You must be approachable. You must be open-minded. Okay. You must ensure that people can be able to come to you and share their challenges with you. And then I have a lot more empathy, and I have a lot more sympathy, and I'm a lot more philanthropic, and I'm very spirited as well. I see. If you look at all these unique abilities that is laid out for the candidature of Markwei Bwachinankwa, who is number 2 on the ballot on Saturday, I am certain that the good people of the Markwei constituency would make none other decision than to decide that I, Markwei Bwachinankwa, becomes the candidate for the new patriotic party. Okay. My uncle was the former MP, JB Dankwedu. Right. Who and that's why I said that is a storied constituency. We're also letting all these parliamentary candidates pass through because, yes, it is that season for the new patriotic party. And you'll see quite a number of them pass through before the 27th, which is Saturday. That's also why we're having that conversation later today with Hayford Siao, the Ghana Library Authority's boss. I've been telling them that I find it interesting. I've asked a number of them whether they just want to segue from that to being in Parliament. It's an open space, free for all, but also because they may be assuming that in election 2024, if they lose power, they must find somewhere to. No, I don't think. No, relax. They must find somewhere to pledge. So out of government, but still in government somewhere. There's a comment though. Iggy Liberty Kojo Akuche says, "What is this thing about toilets with the MPP?" Well, it's dignity, because really, I'll tell you something. In Otafufu, there's a public toilet, but it's almost a death trap. Okay, I get it. And so you do remind me, though. I don't want us to belabor that point. No, but it's really dignity, to be honest. If you live in a community, you have a home where you don't have a private place of convenience for yourself, and you need to rush out of your house and be running, holding your stomach, and then you get to the place that you are now trying to do what you have to do privately. I think that the dignity of humanity preserves that every single person, every single household has the uniqueness to easily walk from their room to their toilet.
Minister for, I believe, is it Works and Housing? Samuel Atachia.
Yes.
He's not contesting.
No, he's not.
This year. But you remember the promise he made about the people of Nima and these toilet facilities and the rest. It appears I guess that is why people are referencing this. There seems to be. By the way, there's a story on myjoyonline.com I'd like you guys to check out by Fentuo Tahiru. Fentuo, we all call him Fent in-house. It's about how the Black Stars could still, with the slimmest of possibilities, because there are 3 other teams with 2 points. And so the hope then is that all of them lose. And that's how we'll qualify. Me, that kind of cardiac mathematics, I don't want to do. So the Black Stars, they are on their own in that exploit. Akumetuo mathematics say there, empire me. Anyway, let's get into the newspapers. You have the new
Finder.
The new Finder. Let me just quickly get into the Daily Graphic, and then we can get into other papers. So, ahead of election 2024, be firm, fair, transparent. Reverend Markwei charges the EC, and he is General Overseer of Living Streams International. 3 petroleum revenue projects stall. Trade Minister urges Chinese businesses to comply with laws. New force offers redemptive change. Nana Kwame Bediako says so. And then Africa Cup of Nations delivers goals galore. Picture there, Algeria's Baghdad Boneja. He is joint leading goal scorer with Equatorial Guinea's Emilio Nsue. All right, so let's get into those stories. The General Overseer of the Living Streams International, Reverend Dr. Ebenezer Markwei, has urged the Electoral Commission to be firm, fair, and transparent in its activities in the country as the country heads for the December 7 elections. He commended the EC for its previous work, but said the bar going into this year's general election should be raised higher to ensure acceptance and ultimately ensure peace. Reverend Dr. Markwei's advice comes as the stakes are higher in the December 7 general election, with the governing New Patriotic Party seeking to go beyond the 8-year ruling cycle and the National Democratic Congress eyeing a comeback after 8 years in opposition. The respected preacher stated that being the gatekeeper, the EC needed to conduct this year's polls in a much more transparent manner to ensure that whoever was declared the winner would be easily accepted by the losing side. Then, let me head to page 13, do 2 stories, and have you come in. So 3 projects partly funded with petroleum revenue in the Greater Accra and Central regions have stalled due to delays in payment. The projects include the rehabilitation of selected roads at Tishi Camp, Southern Command, and MATS, now Ghana Military Academy, and the construction of Tishi Link, both located in the Lejokuku municipality in the Greater Accra region. They also include the Anomabo Fisheries College, which comprises an 18-unit classroom block, hostel facility, administration block, and a laboratory located at Anomabo in the Central region. This came to light when the Public Interest and Accountability Committee inspected selected projects funded with petroleum revenue in the Greater Accra and Central regions. The PIAC said in a statement, the inspection of oil-funded projects undertaken by PIAC is based on information provided by the Ministry of Finance on projects and the accompanying disbursements of petroleum revenue through the ABFA. And the final one I will do on that same page. New Force offers redemptive change, Nana Kwame Bediako. And the founder of the New Force movement, Nana Kwame Bediako, has stated that his mission to contest the 2024 elections is, as an independent candidate, is to offer a redemptive change for the country. The move, he said, was to build a new nation and a new Ghana that offered the youth economic opportunities. There we go. So, be firm, fair, transparent, Reverend Markwei to the EC. New Force, he says, is offering redemptive change. You are all for youth in leadership, right? And then petroleum revenue projects stalling. Aren't you for youth in leadership?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a young person. I'm going to...
So what do you think about Nana Kwame Bediako?
He's a Ghanaian citizen.
Right. I mean, what do you think about his desire to lead Ghana? You have this smile. I don't know whether it's a sly smile.
He is a Ghanaian citizen.
No, I'm not asking you about... I'm not contesting his citizenship.
I'm sharing what I think.
Yes.
He's a Ghanaian citizen. The Constitution gives him a right and opportunity to stand for any role in this country, either parliamentary or presidential.
Right.
The Constitution says when you're 40+1, you can put up yourself. And so I think that he's doing what he feels he can do as a Ghanaian citizen.
Wait, did you say 40 plus 1?
What does the Constitution say?
40 and 40
and above. Okay.
You know, when you say 40 plus 1, it means
like 41. Okay, so 40 and above. Right. 40 and above, you can stand. So we wish him well. We wish him well. But the New Patriotic Party under the leadership of Alhaji Dr.
Do you think, I know what you...
But
do you think...
say that.
Do you think...
To say
no, I know that it's...
No, but then you don't want me... Allow me to complete my statement.
Do you think Nana Kwame Bediako would be a good president?
I reserve my comments on that. I think I have a right to.
His billboards are all over the place, though. I asked him when he was sitting here, and he said he applied wisdom, and his resources were, acquired through wisdom. I see that the GRA is also going after him for tax purposes. I think some of my questions brought up.
I reserve my comments.
How do you feel about the 3 petroleum revenue projects that have stalled? From the APFA, for some reason, PIAC has noticed there's nothing happening. And let me just cite, so somewhere in Anomabo, then there's Teshi, then there's the other one in the Teshi link. All of these projects have stalled from the APFA. What do you make of it? Then you can add your bit about Reverend Markwei charging the EC to be firm, fair, transparent.
Well, I think that, Benjamin, there are required institutions that must respond to these issues. At this moment, between today, tomorrow, the next, and to Saturday, the focus for me is to win the New Patriotic
So all of a sudden, because you are focusing on the
parliament,
you don't care about these matters?
I do, but I'm just trying to say that the focus for me is to make sure that I deliver the good mandate of winning the parliamentary candidature of Achim Ebuakwa North constituency for the good people of the New Patriotic Party. So I would want to, we'll come back to these issues when I have won and I'm the candidate for the New Patriotic Party and continuing my work as spokesperson on governance and security. I think that Reverend Markwei is a very, very respected preacher of the land. I have known him since the 90s. I remember living streams when we were students at University of Ghana. My siblings were students at University of Ghana. It was a talk of town because then everybody used to go to living streams. He's taking a very fair charge that the Electoral Commission, as an independent state institution and referee, should ensure that we have a very fair, free, transparent electioneering process. And I mean, no doubt in my mind that the Electoral Commission would abide to that as the regulations endows them to. And so we would know that the 2024 general election is going to be a very fair one and a very free one.
All right, on the international front, that's how I'll wrap. So you come in with the new finder. Markwei sworn in as new Liberia president. There had to be a pause at some point, the heat and everything. I found it pretty interesting. And it was so narrow. What I'll keep saluting, as someone who has lived in Liberia, who got impacted by the first Liberian Civil War, I don't take it for granted when George Oponwia agrees and steps aside, tells his supporters not to. I found that so, because it's even not so typical of many African leaders. And I'll keep, whenever I mention Joseph Boakai, I'll also mention George Oponwia. I found that, it was so, I'm letting go peacefully. Ethiopians celebrate Timket Festival that marks Jesus' baptism. And then ethnic killings in one Sudan city left up to 15,000 dead. That's according to the UN. That's why we have to tread this ethnic thing very cautiously sometimes, the way we go. And that's why I'm also so concerned about the Boku situation. Every now and then, a spark and Mampuzis and Kusasis and everything in there. Sonko Wade, or Wade, as sometimes said, not listed among presidential candidates. That's in Senegal. But you're a bit of a man of the cloth yourself, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Are you a pastor?
I am. I'm an ordained minister of the Gospel of Jesus Christ.
Okay, which church?
I go to Baptist. Trinity Baptist Church. Yes, I was ordained by Right Reverend Dr. Doug Heward Mills.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
In 2012.
So do you apply as a man of the cloth, do you apply that in your politics?
I do, absolutely. I mean, Jesus Christ was a people person. Jesus Christ picked unskilled people to adventure in his ministry. And I lived and worked in Israel for 3 years. So every single thing that you do, and I do, is endeared under the characters and the values of Jesus Christ. It's underpinned very clearly. I might not say Jesus Christ, I might not say Holy Spirit, I might not say God, I might not speak in tongues publicly, but yes, my value system is very clearly out there, which is my strong, unique selling proposition.
Okay, let's get into the New Finder newspaper. I see you've noted some stories.
Well, I have. I think that the New Finder, front page of the News Finder newspaper, Professor Adai emphasizes integrity in media practice. That's for
which
you.
Which one? You know, there's
on page 2.
Adai, and then there's Adai Mensah. So I'm sure this is Adai Mensah.
No, this is Professor Stephen Adai. Gimpa.
Stephen Adai.
Yes,
okay.
Stephen Adai, yes. The former Gimpa rector.
It's on, yeah.
Yes, so and then the Vice President, 250,000 young people get 660 million Ghana cedis to access dignified and fulfilling jobs. And I'll just read a part of it. The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who launched the project, said, now, armed with a budget of 660 million Ghana cedis, the new BizBox project sets an ambitious goal to empower 250,000 individuals, support 125,000 with startup kits, provide market access support to 50,000 businesses and regulatory support to 40,000 businesses, the Vice President stated. And this is under the Ghana Enterprise Agency and the MasterCard Foundation. That is what the New Finder has for you. The back page is just an advert from EcoBank.
Okay, you just advertised EcoBank.
Well, I have to. It's my bank.
When they are not.
Well, the Finder has bought them, so.
We celebrate them, of course, because we have the Joy News EcoBank Habitat Fair.
Absolutely.
We'll take it like that. Any reflections on these stories? So 250,000 young people get 600 million Ghana cedis. Then there's the bit about Professor Adai emphasizing integrity in media practice, and then fresh shooting in Boku. I started talking about Boku. I had a conversation on this with Professor Inning yesterday, and the police at a point had intercepted a group of people with a hand projectile grenade. Okay, and guess where they were targeting? A filling station. I mean, it's. But another thing I've noticed, and I think I agree with those, including the security analysts and some of those in there who say that it is you, the political parties, who are fueling this, NPP and NDC. You are responsible for it because when this party is in power, you will come and see certain things to this side or that side when that party is in power. So part of the problem, a thick part of the problem, is you, the political parties. And my concern is why? Why would you want to play with something like this, which if it's looking at the positioning of Boku, looking at what is going on in the sub-region, if insurgents infiltrated, looking at what that would mean for the rest of the country, why?
Benjamin, what we know...
And I'm asking this because you are a government spokesperson.
I agree, and I would...
Security as well.
I'll respond to that because I have intel on this. You know, Benjamin, what we know about Boku is not what the general public knows. Boku is a very, very unique case and a very, very fragile environment. And the conversations must be held in context of the issues. We are ensuring that peace remains in Boku. We're ensuring that the various ethnic groups who have been at loggerheads for a very long time would be able to meet eye to eye and allow peace to reign. I do not think that any political party or any political actor has aided in the firing up of crisis in Boku.
Trust me, the last time I spoke to different sides, the Member of Parliament for Boku Central, Mahama Yariga, on one end, I don't want to mention, and then Mr. Zanga, MCE, on the other end, Stephen Yakubu, Upper East Regional Minister, on the other end. It's a bit difficult not to see, even when you interview these people, that indeed there is some rift in a certain way that is also political. Even from my point, you can sense some of it. It's problematic.
I can understand the political introduction into the Boku crisis, but that's not what it is.
No, I'm not saying that is the problem, because I think this has been around since the 50s or so.
In bringing the context, political actors are state owners who must serve as mediators. And so if you find an MP, you find an MC, you find a regional minister speaking and serving as aid in ensuring that peace remains is not an introduction or infiltration of political actors into the crisis of Boko. But we would ensure that as much as it belongs to us, we would have Boko have a lot more peace. I think that for the 250,000 jobs and funds that is being given to these young people, a lot more jobs given to young people is key for our country. It's key for our democracy. It's key to ensure that the young people have a lot more desire to stay in the country, a lot more desire to live in the country, a lot more desire to work in the country, and a lot more desire to ensure that the funds that are being given to them is being used to the very needed purposes for which they stated that they want to use the funds. Right. And I think that Professor Stephen Adai emphasizing integrity in media practice is key. I mean, it's one of the topics that can never be taken out of the classroom of journalism, that journalists must ensure that they are integral in their reportage. I mean, if you're in a hurry to break a news, make sure that you're breaking a news that is factual. You're not breaking a news that is hearsay. You're breaking a news that if you are called to provide the evidence thereof, you will be able to have the very needed evidence to show that this is key. So it's a call in the right direction.
Iggy says, if these young people are going to be paying all of these taxes Ghanaians are bearing, then I can promise that money is already finished before the startup begins. Anyway, but definitely there will be something left to do something. Let's make the most of the last 5 minutes that we have right before we go off. Bank of Ghana to slash policy rate to soften cost of credit. To soften cost of credit. You know, it's hit, and I know people who nowadays will tell you, I simply can't go because if you look at it, you are looking at 40%. It's inhibitive. Upwards of 30%, then they add their own, there's this thing they use, the banks, a rate, of course, Bank of Ghana, Central Bank, then they also add their rate. You're looking at 40%, no one can borrow. And those of us who have borrowed in the past and are still on, it's a mess, complete mess, but only God knows how we make it out month on month. So the cost of borrowing by individuals, households, and the private sector is expected to drop as the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana prepares to slash the policy rate for the next couple of months. This is due to the continuous decline in year-on-year inflation and a relative stability of the cedi. Year-on-year inflation has dropped 5 consecutive times, which may influence the decision of the 7-member committee of the MPC to slash the policy rate by 200 basis points or more when the committee begins to meet this week. Then EIU expresses doubt over negotiation with creditors. I found this interesting. The Economist Intelligence Unit has expressed doubt with Government of Ghana's ability to conclude negotiations with private creditors by the mid-year of 2024, thereby advising the government to be cautious with the negotiations with private creditors or Eurobond holders. You know, the Eurobond holders hold the highest bit of our debt as far as that external component is concerned. Now, the unit indicated that these creditors were likely to demand distinct and intricate restructuring terms compared to bilateral creditors. This comes after Ghana's Finance Ministry announced the government's intention to initiate negotiations with Eurobond holders and commercial creditors, seeking a 40% haircut on coupons. Yeah, those are some of the stories there. Any reactions, Paul Grave? Oh, let me add this one. Commercial transport operators hike fares by 30%.
Benjamin, it's a new year. It's an election week for me. This week, my focus is on my constituency.
So your constituents, right?
Yes.
Your constituents.
My focus is on my constituency.
Mr. Yafosen, I want the cameras to be on us at this point.
The people of Otafo, the people of New Tafo, the people of Kokrotumi,
the people of Abokwa North also bought vehicles. They bought public transport. It's going. This bit about a threat of 30%. It affects them. If the Bank of Ghana slashes the policy rate, there are people there who borrow. It will impact them positively. And this bit's about negotiation with creditors.
Benjamin, you know, this week my focus is on the good people of Abokwa North constituency. I'll tell you something. See, I bought Bofrot in my constituency about 2 weeks ago. It was for 3 Ghana cedis. Okay. And I bought Coca-Cola at Wofaya Dakwe store. And then I bought granite. So I asked the Bofrot seller, when did you fry this Bofrot? He said, I fried it a day before. And as I was buying the bull float, it was 4 o'clock. It was left with 10 in the sieve. When I opened the bull float, I saw miracles in it. But I ate it anyway because I was hungry. Then whilst I was driving to another destination to engage in my one-on-one. I was like, hey, if bull float cannot be finished in a previous day and be sent to a second day, and the possibility of going to a third day, this borrowing you're talking about, I don't think the people in my constituency, they borrow. I don't know.
You know all the people in your constituency.
Oh, I don't know all the people in my constituency, but at least I can tell you that you will not have a lot of them.
Okay.
I mean, coming into the banking sector.
So you say you are focusing on
we have savings and loans.
I understand you.
We have savings and loans.
We have to go for Mubarak Haruna and his team to come to us with sports. We'll take a break and they'll come. But Kofi Ofosu-Hene, this is how I'll wrap, and then I'll take 20 seconds of your comments to your constituency.
My delegates.
Kofi Ofosu-Hene says there is no difference between the Black Stars management team and the economic management team. Chris Houghton is equal to Baumia. That's what he says. Your final words for your constituents.
My delegates. In a few days, you're about to make one of the most important decisions in your life. I've heard all the conversations that has gone on. Even children have heard that it has to change. The power is in your hands. I'm on number 2 on the ballot. Make a concrete decision to bring a visionary leader, a caring leader, a loving leader, a leader that is available, a leader that is faithful, teachable, enthusiastic, a leader that is relational, a leader that has love, a leader that wants to see that the constituency grows, a leader that wants to bring a lot more development into the constituency, give young people an opportunity, and give them a vision of the future. Vote number 2, and I'm certain that you would all vote for me to become the candidate of the New Patriotic Party in Ebuakwa North constituency. I really want to thank you
Thank you, Paul,
for voting for me. And Benjamin, you will be the first person who will interview me on Monday, 29th, here in your studio.
That is if my colleagues don't call you first, because with the political desk and everything. If you do win,
I would win.
If you do win,
when I win.
If you do win,
when I win,
it's likely our people, election headquarters, political desk, and all of that, they would likely reach out to you before I come. But we'll see about that interview.
Absolutely,
we'll see about that.
Thank you, and I'll tell you how I won.
Okay.
I will not share all the strategies. But
when you are done, then you share a few.
When I'm done, I'll just share a few.
All right.
Of how I won.
Paul Dankwa is gunning for the NPP's parliamentary candidacy in Ebuakwa North. He joined us for the news review this morning. Like I said, we're doing all of this in anticipation of the 27th, D-Day, Saturday, when those parliamentary primaries will be held. Right before we veer into sport, and you know, the number one issue we're discussing today, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us to serve you the news review every morning. They're offering prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. Reach out to them at any of their branches here in Accra at Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrade Anaji Estate, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa and Esiamansama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But for me, I still can't understand. 70th goes up, 90th minute, 2 goes up, 91st minute goal, 94th minute goal. Mubarak Haruna is up next with sports.